In this video, I'm going to take this mess and turn it into this awesome looking situation, and I'm going to do it with the CoralVue Hydros START. So you have been considering putting computer automation on your freshwater, saltwater aquarium, or maybe even a pond or something like that you have. But you know you don't want to spend thousands of dollars to get into it and begin getting your system set up. So, introducing the Hydros START from CoralVue. This device was engineered from the ground up to be an entry level into computer automation for your aquariums. And despite its affordable price range and its small size, it is packed with functionality that you're going to find extremely helpful in managing your tanks. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about the Hydros START and even some information on the entire Hydros ecosystem as a whole. But before I get into that, we have to drop a little bit of legal stuff on you, and here it is. They sent this thing to me for the purpose of this video, but they did not pay me to say anything that I'm going to say in the video, good, bad, or otherwise. So what is Hydros? Hydros is a line of computer automated gear. It's a bunch of different controllers and a bunch of different devices that can do a whole bunch of stuff for your aquarium and report that back to an app on your phone, keeping you informed of what's going on with your tank and even allowing you to control your tank from your app. I'm using my phone to record right now, but if I wasn't, I could turn my lights off from my phone or my skimmer or my return pump or my UV or whatever. I could adjust the flow patterns on my gyre wave makers and do pretty much anything else that I need to do, including changing the heating schedules and temperature controls. Now, the Hydros START does a lot of that stuff all by itself. It doesn't do everything that I just mentioned, so let's go over what it actually can do. On the front of the device, you are going to notice that there are 4 green sense ports, and green is important. Everything with Hydros is color-coded, so you really can't connect it incorrectly. These sense ports do exactly what they sound like. They are going to take an input from a sensor of some kind. Hang on a sec. Like these. This is a point leak detector. This is a skimmer water level sensor, and this is a temperature controller temperature sensor. Notice that on the packaging, it has the green box around the sensor, letting you know that these are going to be connected to a sense port. Very simple. And those are just some of the examples of the sensors that you can put into a sense port on a Hydros device. If you go onto the CoralVue website, you can see it here on the screen. They have a list of all of the different types of sensors that they can use in those ports. Just below those green sensors on the device, you'll see the 2 blue sensors labeled command bus. Now, this is a very, very important part of the Hydros ecosystem because those command bus ports allow you to link things like the START with other things like the XP8 if you want to add additional functionality to your system. All of the Hydros architecture can all be linked together in some way, and it's all back, forwards, and sideways compatible. Rather than having one brain for the system, where if that brain goes out, your whole system is down, every Hydros control module operates as its own independent brain, but it works together in a sort of neural network, if you will, of interconnectivity. So if for some reason you have a START and you have an X2 and an X4 and one of those devices goes out, your entire system is not shut down. The other ones will take over the main control of the system. You can replace the one component while still retaining most of the functionality of the rest of the system. Furthermore, if you find yourself at a swap meet and there's a piece of Hydros equipment laying on the table and it's a wave engine V1 from however many years back, that is still going to work with the brand new stuff that they just released. That's pretty cool too. Back to the START. Just below the command bus ports on the device are going to be 2 orange ports. These are called drive ports. Now these are 12 volts DC ports that can control little small things like diaphragm pumps, ATO pumps, like so. This is a Hydros ATO kit, and you'll take note that it has a green icon right there for the sensor that is located within this box, and also an orange icon right there, which is a drive port icon. It's going to let you know that this little pump right here can connect to that orange drive port, freeing up a power brick on your system that you just don't need anymore. And yes, everything from Hydros is labeled with these color codes like this, so there's no confusion to where something goes. If we take a look at the back of this box right here, you will even note that there are solenoid valves that you can get for the drive ports on this thing. That is very interesting because you can connect those to your RODI units, use a water level sensor, and control your RODI top off with a water level sensor from the Hydros START if you get one of those solenoid valves for your system. Now, also located on the front of the device are 420 volt powered AC outlets. And these are not just outlets that are going to pass power through from the device to the thing it's plugged in. All four of those outlets are controllable based on the inputs that you're putting into the sense ports. So take this for example. You have a temperature sensor, which, by the way, this comes with a temperature probe, and you connect that to sense port 1. And then you plug your heater into the number 1 outlet, and you go into the Hydros app, which we're going to do in a little while, so bear with me until we get there, and you tell the app that outlet 1 is controlled by sense port 1, and you label it as a temperature probe, and you label the outlet as a heater. Then you can configure all of that stuff, and Hydros takes over temperature control for your aquarium and reports it back to you on your app what the actual temperature is with a history graph so that you can see what's been happening over the last few days. How cool is that? And that's just one example of all the different things you can do with this. This is a point leak sensor or leak detector. You put this under your tank. If this thing senses water, it will shut down whatever you tell it to, your return pumps or your overflow, your ATO, whatever you have connected to this. You can shut it down with that, or you could shut down the entire system if you wanted to. This is a skimmer level sensor, and what this does is you put this inside your skimmer cup, and as the level of skimmit comes up, once it gets right up to the top, if it triggers this, it will turn your skimmer pump off so you don't overflow all that skimmit back into the aquarium or off on the floor in the event you're using a hang on the back skimmer. And this little guy is a temperature sensor that magnet clips inside the tank so you don't have a probe in there wiggling and flopping around and stuff like that. This will stay in one spot and take a temperature reading for you. And all of these sensors can be configured in multiple ways within the app to turn on or turn off anything that you want them to turn on or turn off. And if all of that wasn't enough functionality for you, the Hydros START will also control up to 8 Hydros Wi-Fi devices. Just like this one. This is a Hydros Smart outlet. It has one little 120 volt plug right here, and it uses Wi-Fi signals and stuff like that. You pair this up, you set it as a output on Hydros, and there you go. Now let me give you a for instance. This is not just for aquariums. I know people using these in 3D printer rooms to monitor temperature and humidity, things like that. This little outlet right here can literally control anything from anywhere. And that's one of the beauties of the Hydros system. As long as you have internet, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can log onto your app, turn your skimmer off. If your cousin calls and says, hey man, I stopped by the house to check on things and there's bubbles coming out of this thing all over the floor, you can click, 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 turn the skimmer off. You don't have to tell them to go dig under the cabinet and look for the 6th plug to the right on the 2nd power strip below the yellow PVC line. It doesn't happen anymore, not with Hydros. So anyway, back to my previous point, this is a smart outlet, and let's just say every evening you like to sit near the aquarium and read Coral magazine. Very, very good read, I might add, not sponsored. But you want to turn on a lamp every day at 8 o'clock to go read your magazine. You could use one of these, plug it in, control it with Hydros, and every day at 8 o'clock, bang, your reading lamp comes on. Just one thing you could do. And it will also control their Wi-Fi feeders and any of the other devices that Hydros uses Wi-Fi to control. Now, the 4 AC outlets on this thing can run any device that requires 120 volt power. So lights, pumps, skimmers, heaters, wave makers, you name it. You could plug those into here and you can turn them on and off from Hydros, even on a schedule if that's what you wish to do. It is important for you to know, though, that it can only do up to 14 amps worth of power. So you're going to want to look at the devices that you're plugging into this, find out what the amp hour rating is for that, and make sure that it falls below that 14 amps requirement during continued use. So you'll add all the devices together, make sure it doesn't overpower the power strip in this thing. So now, with all of that said, those are the things you need to know about the Hydros Start, what it can do, how it works, and all that stuff. And now we're going to get into installing it on my own 22-gallon Sea Cardinal down here. I'm going to show you the app and show you how to set some things up. And in doing so, we are going to take this mess that you see right here into a whole new level of clean. So before we get into actually looking at the app and stuff, there's one more thing that I want to cover, and that is Wi-Fi use and customer support with Hydros. Hydros only runs on a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal. It does not run on a 5G signal. So you are going to have to verify with your internet service provider that your router, your thing broadcasting the Wi-Fi out into your house, can in fact run with a 2.4 gigahertz signal separate from the 5G, and that you can set up a dedicated circuit for Hydros. You don't want other things like cell phones, laptops, desktop computers, TVs, smart outlets, smart lights, any of that crap, smart oven, smart fridge, smart AC in your window unit. You don't want any of that connected to the same internet Wi-Fi signal that your Hydros is going to use. You want Hydros on its own thing by itself. And that is what CoralVue recommends for how you set this up. All of those other things can create interference, and they can create problems for Hydros maintaining its connectivity. Do it right, you don't have any problems. I'm having to fix some things in my house myself to make sure that I've got a good solid signal. Primarily because Wi-Fi doesn't go through water, and this is a big box of water, so I have to get the Wi-Fi hard piped around the water in my house so that I have line of sight from my Wi-Fi generating device and the Hydros units itself. Now, Hydros customer support is second to none. Every time I have tried to use customer support, it has been a great experience, and the best way to get a hold of them is support@coralvue.com. They are usually ridiculously fast at answering those emails, generally in just within a day or two, and sometimes they might even answer you on the weekends, even though they don't have to. They're off on the weekends, but sometimes they do. All right, enough about all that crap. Let's get it set up. All right, so we're down here under the Sea Cardinal, and this is the way that I like to set up these Hydros devices. You don't want to unplug everything from your aquarium, plug it all into the Hydros, and then fight with it over the next hour and a half or 2 hours to make sure that you got everything hooked up correctly. So I just have the Start connected with an extension cord right now. This isn't permanent. This is just for setup so that I can program the Start while the rest of the tank is still running. Obviously, if you're setting up a new tank that isn't running yet, this isn't a problem. But if you're adding it to an existing system like this is how I would recommend that you do it. Doing it this way allows us to take a notebook and sort of write down how we're going to program the device, whichever one that it is. And with those notes, we can go to the app, we can go ahead and program this thing, tell it what it needs to be doing, set the schedules that we want to be set and all of that. Then we can come back over, unplug it, connect everything in, plug it back up. And when it boots back up, it's already controlling all of those devices. Alternatively, you can shut the tank down for a couple of hours while you get things set up. But if anything goes crazy, then you just have to plug it all back in and try to do it again later. All right, so I'm in my Hydros app. Yours is going to look a little bit different if you don't already have other Hydros stuff. I do, so that's why this is showing Collective 1 here. But I'm going to go up to this top plus icon here. I'm going to press that, and you'll see that I have a Wave Engine V1, a Start, and a Control XS, which apparently has a little bit of a Wi-Fi signal problem right now. Told you about that already. We're going to go ahead and click the Start I don't want to set up a new collective with this because I want this to be on its own by itself for now. All right, so the SSID located up there at the top above available Wi-Fi SSIDs, that's showing you which of all of those other connections are actually available to Hydros in that 2.4 signal. So on the second list down here, you want to find that same one and connect to that one. Now I've gone ahead and entered my Wi-Fi password. That's the same password that you use to log into that signal with, and I've named the device the Start. So we're going to click done and hit submit. Now I have already updated the firmware on this device to the newest model of everything. You are going to have to do that the first time that you install everything, and the instructions for the app are going to take you directly through how to do that. If you follow along with what the app tells you to do, it's going to guide you along that path. As long as you don't deviate from that, it will take you through getting it updated and getting the new firmware installed. All right, registration is successful. It says please wait for the device to reboot and then press continue. All my lights have quit blinking, so we're going to continue. And now you see that I have Start there under my collective. So I'm going to click the Start, and this is what it looks like when it hasn't been set up. There's nothing going on here. It's just giving you the details of the board, and it shows that inputs, outputs, Wi-Fi devices, and third-party devices, none of those have anything connected to the Start. So we have to begin setting that up. But the first thing you're going to want to do is go up here to the hamburger menu on the top left, go down to options, and go through here and set all of the things to the way that you're going to want to use your system. Here in America, we use Fahrenheit and gallons and things like that. You can set your alkalinity to however you want it to be. I would use specific gravity for my salinity. You can set your time zone here, put this on America, and we'll go with Central. Let's see if it says Central in here. So these are all cities. So I'm just going to have to find the city. So it's usually Chicago. There we go. So that works for that. And don't worry about that mode control input down there. Just leave that at none and upload the changes. Now it's going to do this. It's going to take it just a second to upload everything, and you're good to go. Now, a little bit further down the list, you can see that we have different LED modes here. We have party modes here, so you can make the LEDs on your device do different things for different seasons. You can turn your LEDs on and off by time if you want to. You can set email notifications. I don't want any email notifications set right now. I'm going to configure that later, so I'm going to turn all those off, and we're going to upload those changes as well. Okay, so we're done with the options. We're going to go back to the main menu here and configure our first input. So we'll click the plus icon next to input. Now an input is anything that's providing a signal to the Hydros. So it's going to be one of those sense ports that we were talking about. So we're going to do this input name as temp probe, just like that, and we're going to hit create. Now, on this screen, it's asking you what type of sensor are we configuring here. So this is a sense port, and it is going to be on, let me check my notes, it's going to be on sense port 1. That's where I chose to put it, so we're going to leave that alone. And then we're going to go down here and tell it that it is a temperature probe from the sense mode. In that list, you can see all of the other types of sensors that you can put in there. They got a float water level sensor, a flow rate sensor, like if you're going to be using a UV sterilizer, optical water level sensors, rope leak detectors that you can wrap around wiring and stuff, and if they get wet, it'll shut things down. So all of that is available. Now, since I've told it that it's a temperature probe, it's opened up all of these graphs below down here where we can change our temperature settings. For my tank, I want my temperature safe range a little lower than 77, so I've made it 75.5, and I want to be notified if things go over 81 degrees. So we're going to set it like that. Now, on the graph value limits, you will notice it says negative 25.6 degrees Fahrenheit. No one is going to run the tank that low. It might turn to ice. So you're going to set this just a little below where your minimum safe range is. If I hit 75.5, it's going to send me an alert. So I don't need it to go much below 70 degrees. And we definitely don't need it to be up at 122. So I'll set it to 85 just so that we have a good range on the graph of where the temperature is. I don't know right now if I need an offset or not. Some heaters run a little high or a little low. So if you have hydros set to 78 degrees, but your heater is making your tank at 79, you can do a 1 degree offset so that it actually controls the tank to a proper 78. So that's what that's there for. Heaters are very, very important. So I'm going to set the notification level to red and upload those changes. So what this has done is told that sense port on the Hydros START what it needs to be doing. Right now, it's not connected to anything. There's no temperature probe in the tank yet, so it just says unknown. And because we've just set up our sense port, now we can set up our output and what that sense port is going to control. So we hit the plus icon. The output name is going to be heater, and we're going to hit create. Now it's asking us what family of output we're going to be using. So you click that and you go down here and you look on the list for the thing that you want to use. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, right? And so what we're looking for off of this list is temperature control. So we can click that and then we have to tell it what type. If it's a chiller or a heater, ours is going to be a heater. I want this heater to turn on at 76 degrees. I don't want it to go below that. I run my tank a little bit lower than other people do sometimes. And I'm going to tell it to turn off at 77 degrees because I don't want it to go over that. I want it to stay between 76 and 77. Now, next down on the list, you'll see temperature input 1. It says that this is required. So we click this list and we choose temp probe, which is the sense output or the sense input that we set just a few minutes ago. We don't have a second temperature input, but we could if we needed to, if we were going to set up a chiller or something like that as well, but I don't need to. And the output device next down on the list is going to be AC outlet 1. Now, you can also see that they have drive port 1 and 2 there. That's going to be used if you're using like an ATO or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and make this AC outlet 1. And if you click this enable advanced settings button, you can go down here and set minimum and maximum off and on times just to be safe. I generally don't use those with a heater because you want the heater to actually stay on as long as it needs to keep the tank where it needs to be. So don't use maximum and minimum on and off times with a heater, so I leave that off. The next one down, you see active in modes, and you can choose feeding, normal, and water change. These are the default modes that Hydros has set up. You can just leave this active in all modes because you always want your heater running. But if your heater is going to be exposed to the air during a water change, if you take more water out and it's going to let that heater be exposed, number one, that's a problem with your setup. You need to correct that. But number two, you can turn this off and it will disable that AC port while the device is in water change mode. I'm going to leave it on right now because mine's not going to be exposed and leave that as it is. The next box down, you see depends on. It's unused right now because we haven't configured anything. But what you can do is once you have everything configured, you could tell this sense port or this AC outlet to be dependent on something else. Let's just say you have a skimmer on your system and when you do your water changes, your return pump turns off. That raises the level of water in your sump and overflows your skimmer. You can set your skimmer to depend on your return pump being on or off, and if you turn the return pump off, it automatically turns the skimmer off as well. And this very last icon down here says is invisible. That's for something that you want to set up, but you don't want it to display on the main page of your app. You can click that and it will be invisible on the main page. I want to see everything, so I leave it unchecked. And we'll upload those changes. All right, now let's go back to the main screen and you will see that we have a heater. It's off on fallback mode. And there's a couple more things on this main screen that I would like to show you. If we click the three dots here on outputs, you can choose what method of information, graphic user interface it's going to give you. It's on text. If we go to tile, they will look like this. View tile, so it looks like that. Tell you what, let's swap over just to my collective so that I can show you the difference with numbers and stuff. There we go. So my UV is actually off right now. I'm not using the UV currently on my tank, so it's off. But you can see these tiles. It says that my ATO sensor is currently wet and the temperature is currently 76 degrees. So if we take this and we hit view graph, it changes And now we have graphs that we can take a look at. So you can see how stable the temperature has been over time. You could see if my UV was flowing. You could see what the flow rate has been because I have a flow sensor on my UV. And my ATO sensor is either wet or dry. That's when it kicks on and kicks off. I don't particularly like looking at the graphs all the time. I think they take up too much space. So I tend to just go with tile. But if I went with text, that's what it would look like as well. And there we go. And so through the magic of editing, I was able to get all of this stuff done for you in just a few seconds. But in reality, it took me about 4 hours and a trip to the hardware store. So if you have any questions about the Hydros START or any other part of the Hydros ecosystem, drop them down in the comments. Let me know. And if you found this video useful, hit that subscribe button and then watch that video up on the screen right there. You're going to find that super interesting, and I'm going to catch you over there.